Today I worked on my father's Christmas gift. For those of you that missed the previous episode, my siblings and I are all musical people. It's a pretty musical family, and my father has at this point in our adult lives of his children have asked us all to record songs for him for Christmas. It's what he wants for Christmas, and it's a really nice, easy thing that we can give him earnestly that he will really appreciate when he's someone who usually it's hard to buy things for him that he really cares about. He wants the hymn In the Sweet By and By, and so on a previous episode I made a reference track that I sent to my sisters, who are going to be the main vocalists on the track, and they recorded their vocals. They sent it back to me, and I spent a day building around it. So I'll kind of play the first half of it here. It's about 2.5 minutes long, and the back half is pretty similar to the first half. And I will be making more additions to it tomorrow to make the back half more interesting than the first half. But yeah, here's what I'm at right now. Right now the track is pretty like vanilla. I feel like there's not a lot of like creative things happening in it, and I'm kind of okay with that. It is supposed to be a pretty true rendition of the hymn, and it talks about that we will meet on the shores of heaven, so we kind of have this sort of, I don't know, like imagery at the beginning with using some Foley of having some ocean just sounds like off of Splice starting. They also bookend the piece. This is how it starts, and then it also ends the piece, comes back in there at the end. It's a little cheesy, but I feel like it's topical. I feel like it makes sense. We do have it kind of fading out there as you hear it go down. This high pass filter going down. The one thing I don't like about that is that it sort of gives the effect that we're going underwater. So I want to just, as quickly as that sound starts to happen, have something else come over the top of it. And the reason I have it fade down there entirely is to make space for the vocals. Mainly, I don't want the vocals to like pop out. I hate this is a thing that always happens every time I mix with vocals, and I'm still learning how to get there. It's better than it was previously, but I've always had this problem where like I just have like my track, and the moment the vocals start, it's just like, oh, vocals are way louder. And honestly, when you bounce this out, you can tell when the people are singing even now, because it just gets so much louder. It's just so much more present in the mix than everything else. And obviously you want the vocals to be like the most present thing in the mix. But how do you make them do that without making them sit on top? The solution I have right now is have something kind of in the high end that then you take out as the vocal comes in. So this transition here, to me, I feel like the vocal doesn't pop out at the beginning because of we're fading out this ocean sound. And the vocal just kind of sits in the place that high end of the ocean was sitting previously. So that seemed to work pretty well here. We'll say vocals-wise, my sisters nailed it. This very beginning, I was really surprised. If I turn off the auto-tune, you can hear this. That very first note is like, she just nails the transition there to where I was like, is there auto-tune baked into this? But there's not. This is a project she sent me she had a different auto-tune on it originally, so I know she hasn't hasn't bounced this with auto-tune baked in. She just sang it that well. So I spent a while at first trying to get my auto-tune, like, how do I make that note sound a little bit more natural? And then I turned off the auto-tune and listened to it. I was like, oh, that is natural. She's just that good. My other little favorite vocal bit, probably from my other sister, is this, who's singing the alto part here, is this little vocal flip she does on the second, in the middle of the chorus here. That's really, really pretty. This. And a really, really authentic kind of folky ornamentation there with kind of almost using the break, going from kind of a head voice to a chest voice. And then like you hear that, like, just like I'm not doing it very well because this is not my register, but you're going from the to the no style of singing is pretty. It was very, very pretty, and I gave it a little gain bump there just because I'm like, oh, I really make sure that comes through there. But yeah, other than some vocal processing, the other things I added here, this is me playing guitar, and this is just kind of an ostinato thing. When I originally sent them the track, one of the things I had on it was this little piano track that is basically just doing this. This is just kind of a musical metronome. I talked about this in the previous episode. Instead of having to listen to this click the whole time, it was like, I felt like it's just easier to sing along to a piano doing a little pattern like that. And honestly though, I think for the style like this very kind of laid back style of piece we're doing, this sort of motion, almost as an arpeggiator, works well for this style of piece. I didn't want to have it be like strumming guitar chords, like choir, like church. But I did want to have some guitar work in there. I know my dad expects there to be guitar work in there because I'm a guitar player and he was a guitar player as well. And fun fact, this guitar I'm playing here is the guitar he played for me as a child and then gifted to me in my adult age. So it's a great guitar. It just creates a nice little texture there in the background that just helps as an anchor. The only thing I'm kind of like doing interestingly here is I do have Dimension Expander on it. This was recorded DI straight in, so it's just the cable going into the guitar, running into my Focusrite, and wanted a little more dimensionality in what is a mono signal there, so just put like the most mild of dimension expanders on here, and it helps give it a little bit more stereo space if you listen to it in isolation. It's nice. The only other thing we're kind of doing automation-wise is having it kind of come up from this low pass, there's low cut that is just kind of taking out any rumbly bass frequencies, and it actually cuts out the fundamental pretty harshly here, so... Or not the fundamental, just like the bottom note of that arpeggio. It's like... compared to... It's a little bit more rumbly there, and if you kind of like look at it in the channel EQ, you can see this note here that's coming in at, whatever that's around 150-ish or so, and this just slowly creeps up to kind of push it down a little bit to make space for the other things, because it does kind of become a strong fundamental. Honestly, I could probably even pull this up just a little bit more to make it a little bit more thinner, because we're making space for with like the choir, the recorder pad we have going on down here. This is really fun. I've talked about this sound a lot previously on the channel. This is just a medieval recorder. I love the way this thing sounds, and so I stacked some delay and some Valhalla, and then a bit of EQ. I guess this EQ's... Either these EQs doing anything? No, not doing anything with the EQs. That's so funny. And just have this become this really nice pad. Just with just tons of wet delay here, like almost no dry, all wet, heavy feedback. And this is just the default setting of Valhalla Supermassive, and it created a really nice pad from what is a stock patch in Logic as well. I like it. And the last thing we have is this bass that comes in. This is just a very, very simple Serum sine wave with some extra partials. It just fills in that bottom end. Nice and lush. Tomorrow is Christmas Eve, so I do have to have this done by tomorrow, which is nice to have that sort of deadline hanging over me here to really kind of get on. I think I'm going to try, and now that I've got the Focusrite set up where I can record guitars, plug an electric guitar into it and see if I can get a good sort of echoey, reverby, like, hit the notes with the volume all the way down and then kind of like fade it up with the knob, kind of give it almost like a steel, like lap steel sort of effect or something like that. I think that sort of thing could go really well in the pockets here. Might even chop everything and put like a spot for a guitar solo between the two the two final choruses. Because right now it is a little bit short, and that's okay. I think it gets the idea across, and I think Dad will appreciate it anyways. But wouldn't mind throwing a guitar solo in there. So we'll see what we get done tomorrow. This has to get done tomorrow, so that will be tomorrow's episode. But yeah, that's all we had time for today. Thanks so much for watching. See you guys tomorrow. Bye-bye.